Hello, I'm Dennis Snow, and this is Speaking of Service Excellence. I recently read an article about the power of certain company brands, such as Coca-Cola, Apple, Disney, and several others. These iconic brands own unique images in the minds of their customers and the public in general. They each have a unique brand promise that relates to what customers can expect every time they experience the company's products or services. As I was reading the article and doing some further research on the topic of brands and brand promises, the word unique kept popping up. But the more I thought about it, the more I came to believe that certain generalizations can be made about an organization's brand promise based on the very nature of the business or industry they're in. There are some elements of a brand promise that are implied. An element of any airline's brand promise, for example, is that they will get you to your destination safely. I think that promise is implied. A particular airline will likely have a unique brand image, but getting you safely to your destination is certainly part of any airline's brand promise. Regardless of a fine dining restaurant's unique brand image, an important element of their brand promise is that they'll provide great food along with great service. And part of any hospital's brand promise is that they'll provide quality medical care. Now, I'm making some generalizations here, but I'm sure you get the idea. Here's the point. Everything the customer sees, hears, smells, tastes, or touches impacts their experience with your organization. And anything out of alignment with your brand promise creates a disconnect in the mind of the customer. While customers may not consciously notice every detail, subconsciously, clues to your organization are being communicated, and it doesn't take too many broken brand promises to damage an organization's overall brand, sometimes beyond repair. As a customer, I'm always looking for examples of how the details of my experience are either aligned or misaligned with an organization's brand promise. Here are a few photos I've taken or have had sent to me that highlight some brand promise disconnects, along with commentary. The idea of seeing a duct-taped window as you're boarding a plane is a pretty significant disconnect from the brand promise of getting you to your destination safely. Wouldn't you agree? I'm sure that the plane was perfectly safe, but the message communicated by this image screams anything but safety. My next example is a photo of a sign that I saw posted by the side of the road. I just had to stop and get the photo. Based on this sign, would you truly believe that the office space is really Class A? Now, it might be, but I would think if you're marketing Class A office space, your sign would reflect a Class A image, or at least Class B. This sign's image is much farther down the alphabet. After a great meal at a fine dining restaurant, you decide you'd like to take the leftovers home. After paying a couple of $100 for a meal, wouldn't you expect a nicer presentation? I doubt this photo reflects the restaurant's image the way they'd like. There's a disconnect between the promise of great food and great service and a cheap plastic bag you might get at the grocery store. Next example. While I don't expect a fine dining experience from a quick serve restaurant, I do assume that things are clean and sanitary. Cleanliness is part of any restaurant's brand promise. This photo taken while I waited in a drive-through line doesn't support that assumption of cleanliness. Now, I know trash cans are behind the gate, but I don't need to see them. I'm so glad that cell phones have cameras because so many opportunities come up, like this photo I took while waiting in a doctor's examining room. Is this really where a doctor's office should keep their thermometer sleeves? Now, I'm pretty sure it wasn't a used cup, but should that thought even pass through my mind? An implied part of any physician's brand promise is attention to detail, clean supplies, and order. Enough said. And while this next photo is from an employee work area rather than a customer area, it's on point. If you really want me to believe that you value my suggestions, wouldn't you find another place for the paper shredder rather than right underneath the suggestion box? Now keep in mind that I could have just as easily shown photos that are positive examples of the details reinforcing an organization's brand, but it's much more fun to show the negative examples. Here's a valuable exercise for any organization. With your team, have a discussion about your organization's brand promise or your department's brand promise, if that's more appropriate. Then take a team walkthrough of your location and look for examples of brand promise disconnects. With a brand promise mindset, it's likely that the disconnects will be obvious to you and your team, as well as what should be done to correct the problem areas. Making this exercise a regular practice can't help but move you in the direction of consistently delivering on the promise of the brand. So here's something to think about. What's the brand promise your organization makes to your customers? Are any details of the customer experience out of alignment with that promise? I hope that you found the ideas in this video to be beneficial. If you'd like information about how Snow & Associates can assist your organization, or you'd simply like access to additional customer service resources, please visit our website, www.snowassociates.com. Thanks so much for watching.